Hello, I'm Andrew, aka Quassi from Quassi's Bell Tower, and today we are going to make an RPG magnetic game board. Yes, I said magnetic. We're going back to the mag. Now, first of all, I'm going to show you this board, and it's got nails all over it, and that's just to show you how strong these magnets are. They are a 3mm by, I think, 2mm. I also have ones that are 3mm by 1mm on here. That's another story, and later on I'll let you know about that. So here is the board, and it's completely done. There's all magnets in the middle of each square, and hopefully, yes, you can see all those nails. And I just want to show you how strong they are. Even after applying a coat of Mod Podge with black paint, and then a layer of paint and a whole bunch of other paint, and then putting a Miniwax Sealant on it, put two or three coats on this, and the magnets still work just great. So I just wanted to show you that before I show you how to make it. Now, as you can see, I have already started this project. Before I even started recording, I was making this off a video from the YouTube channel DungeonCraft. It's his 67th video, and I was really inspired by his work to do one of these, especially with my nephews. It's just a pain in the butt trying to set everything up with them and then taking it all down and everything else. So I'm pretty much going to do the same thing he did, and he just made one board and set it up where you could have the terrain and have him going forward or whatever direction, and then he would just take the parts off and then put the new pieces on for the next area they had entered. And I'm really inspired by that, so I decided I'm going to go do my own. I'm going to do mine a little different than him. I'm going to go 14 by 14. I'm not sure what size he used, but he did a circle instead. I'm going to stay with the basic square. The only difference with mine is I'm going to put holes in the center of all these, just little holes, and they're all going to have magnets in them, and then I will make accessory pieces, and they will have nails at the bottom, and they will just clip on to this wherever I need it. I will also put holes in the corners and in the middle here if need be, deciding how I want to set up the dungeon or wherever the players are at. But I am going to go ahead and just continue on with this a little bit and let you guys watch me do this. Now, when I originally did this, I just used the back of a screw and found it with the size of these tiny little magnets, and I just try to find the right exact width of these magnets, which I'll link down of what I bought. And these are they're really, really tiny, as you can tell. 3mm by 1mm. I'm not exactly what the setting was on them, but something like that. So I was using this, and I was just pushing in the center of the foam, and the problem was it was kind of breaking the foam a little bit and cracking it. So I thought, what other way could I do this? And what I'm doing is I'm using my Dremel instead, and I'm just using this small little bit here, which is the same width as the magnet, and all I'm doing is just turning this on, putting it on low, and slowly trying to center this the best I can, and just put this down. Don't go too deep. You don't want to go too deep, but you just got to work with it a bit. And if it's not deep enough when you go to put the magnet in, you just go in and tap it up and just touch it up. The only thing I'm trying to do is get this as straight as I possibly can. I'm just going to eyeball it. I could draw little lines in here and know exactly where the X is and everything else. I could do that, and it's probably the way I should do it, but I'm not going to. And like I said, I will do all the corners and then in the middle of each of the tiles, and I'm just going to go through and do the whole thing. So here I go. So they're all done now. Now what I will do is I can go through and test all these holes and see if they're all the right size. Or I can wait until I put the glue in. And any ones that don't quite fit, and you want them as flush as possible, you probably can just push down on the foam just a little bit, just to get it to sink in there. But I wanted to do it that way so the foam would not crack on me as I was putting these in, if I had just used the back end of a drill bit to push these in. Now when I do between here and in the corners, I will probably just use this. I'm not 100% sure, but I was testing it out earlier and I put the hole in there with just this and then put the magnet in, and it seemed to work pretty good. I don't want it too deep, and these cuts that I've already put in here in the lines with just using your basic ruler and a pen, and then just took the pen and went through like this, and then, you know, all the way through, back and forth, and then I took an X-Acto knife and I made the cuts a little deeper, and then I used my Sharpie, my fine point Sharpie, one of the wide ones, and I just went through and used this to widen up the gaps a little bit more, because this will actually eat at the XPS foam, and that's where I went with that. I'm not sure how this is going to come out. I hope it comes out pretty good. It's going to be a lot of magnets, and I know I don't have enough, but I do have some coming, hopefully tomorrow, and hopefully that's enough to do this all. If not, then I guess this video will take a little bit longer to come out. But like I said, I will do the corners and here too. So however I decide I want my fencing or walls or whatever else, I can do that and it shouldn't be a problem. So as I was working on putting the other holes in here, after I got about halfway, almost all the way done, I realized I really probably don't need the holes right here and in here and here and here. I mean, I could do it that way still, but I think if I just have the holes here and then the holes along in the corners, that will be just fine. It's all going to come down to how you want to set up your dungeon or anything else anyways. For now, I'm just going to put the magnets in the center, and then I will do some brickwork and try to blend them in, even though you'll still be able to tell that's a magnet in there. But we'll see how it comes out. So all I'm going to do is use some tacky glue by Eileen's. Make sure that the magnet will be flush in the hole before I decide to glue it down. And these magnets are very small, so you got to be kind of quite careful with them. So that's pretty good. So I am going to go ahead and start gluing these all down, and then I'll be back to show you what they look like. So as you can see, I have actually gone through and done some of the brickwork on here. I do have all the magnets now in this board. I did not do the corners like I was talking about before, and there's reasons why I didn't do that. One, I ran out of my regular magnets and I went to reorder them on Amazon, and I totally got the wrong ones. It's like the link wasn't the right link they sent me, even though they were like, hey, order this again. So I assumed they were the right magnets, and of course they weren't. So then I had to order some other ones, trying to figure out the size of these magnets. Figured they were 3 millimeters, but I wasn't sure if they were 1, 2, or 3 millimeters. So I ordered a couple different magnets, and what I got was a 3 millimeter by 1 millimeter in height. So I was able to finish the rest of this board because I got about halfway through before I had to stop. And the 1 millimeter ones are not that are in height are not that bad at all. They are really tiny. But when I drilled and put all these holes in with the Dremel, and I only went so deep, I did it almost perfect, where I didn't have to go in and touch this up and make them deeper for them, because they just fit in there perfect. So I will put a link down for the 3 millimeter by 1 millimeter magnets for you if you want to order them. but I would not go any bigger than 3 millimeter by, let's say, 2 millimeter, possibly 3 millimeter in height. But I think 3x2s would be fine. The 3x1s work just perfect. So it's going to come down to how deep you want to go. And honestly, these over here are the 3x1s, and I've got an old drill bit here, and they're just as strong as, well, maybe a little less strong than the I think these are 3x3 millimeter ones, maybe 3x2. They seem a little weaker, but not really that much of a difference. They'll work perfect for what I need them for anyways, but I did some of this brickwork and I didn't do anything too fancy pattern wise. I kind of spread it out. I could do them all that way if I want, but I decided not to. So all I'm gonna do is just, all you gotta do is some random patterns, nothing quite serious. You know, some of them I have where I just went around the magnet first, and I just used a ball, you know, a pen. This is like one of those gel pens. I just went around, you know, different ways. Just, you know, it's your call how you want to do it, honestly. Whatever looks good for you. Honestly, I did not know how I was going to go about this, so I just did random different things. And when I did this too, I make sure I go a little deep with this pen, and then I kind of go back around the bricks just to help try to round them off so they're not so square. A little roundness to them. So that's basically kind of all I really did. Nothing too fancy. Just jumped around every other one or so. You know, just kind of went like that. Nothing big. So it's all going to come down to how you want to design your brickwork on your thing. I just do random ones. Some look good, some look okay, some maybe not so great, but hey, it works for me and I'm happy with it. So you guys do whatever design you guys want. And what I'm going to do next after I'm done doing all these is I will cover this in Mod Podge and black paint, you know, the old Black Magic Craft coating that he always likes to do. It'll protect this. Hopefully it'll keep these magnets from popping out. Eventually when I'm done, I will use some polyurethane satin finish on this to seal it, and that will keep the magnets from coming out anymore. But honestly, they're pretty darn strong in there and they don't seem to be coming out at all. So I'm not too worried about that at all. Alright, like I said, I could put the magnets in each little corner like I did before, but me having the 3x1s, they're a little too small, and I could get them in there and they might pop out, they might not, but they might sit too deep too. I did try a couple of them out. It did seem to work, but I think for now this is kind of like my prototype one. I'm just going to go with this. First of all, what I did is I did a 1/4 inch all along all four sides. Drew a line and then gave them some lines down here to make them look like bricks. You don't have to do that, but I kind of like it, and I know a lot of other crafters do it. So that's what I did, and then just went in and just did all the lines. The other thing is you need some texture. So grab your aluminum ball and get on to texturing. So just go ahead and beat the heck out of this, however you want to do it. Roll it, pat it, beat it up, and then when you get done. So here's the board, just like I showed you in the beginning, completely done. Now, like I said, I still got all my little nails on it, and those are going to be used when I make some walls. I think I'm going to use 1 inch, maybe 1.25 inches foam on it, or height-wise. Thickness, probably not very thick, enough to put the nails in, and we're going to try this out. Like I said in this video, this was a demo piece. Wasn't sure how I was going to do it. I had issues with getting the product I needed for this and everything else. So a lot of things didn't happen the way I wanted it to, but I can always come back to that and do that again on another board. Another thing I would change on this would be I would prefer to have some MDF board and glue it onto the bottom of this, because this foam is a little warped. It's got a little bow in it, but it's not that big of a deal. But next time I make one, bigger or smaller, or however I do it, I will use MDF board. I also want to mention that Professor Dungeon Master from DungeonCraft also put his on a Lazy Susan, and that was phenomenal how I did it. I might eventually do that, but I don't want to make a video for it or anything like that. I kind of like just the way it was. If I think it needs it, I'll do it, but for now, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So, like I said, go check out his video. So I hope today you guys were inspired by this video, just like I was inspired by Professor Dungeon Master's video. And if you were, and you haven't yet, please consider to subscribe, click that bell notification, and like always, ring that like button like a hunchback. Till next time.